Oh, very good. And then the first thing I want to do is share screen and share a couple of things that I started with. And yeah, here's the first one. The first thing I'll do when we go out sailing is take a look at the wind forecast for the next day. And it gives me an idea of what I might look for, but you got to sail with the wind you've got, right? So these things are not 100% reliable, and certain wind patterns are definitely harder to predict than the others. In this case, though, we're seeing something very specific, and this looks like, you know, kind of standard summer conditions. The models work really well for them because there's a lot of data around them. So they know when they set up, they're pretty accurate. And, you know, if anyone wants to shout out, especially someone I've already told this to, what shape do you see in that wind pattern?
Kidney.
Very good. It's a great straight man. If you look here at the shape of the predominant wind, to me, this just looks like a kidney. And when I see this, it tells me two things. First of all, the wind is getting constricted in here in the flow, but then as it gets past the city front and it wraps around Angel Island here, the farther north you go, there's more south. And the farther south you go, there's more north in the breeze. All right, the breeze is fanning out. Everyone kind of see that? That fan pattern? That turns out, if you're racing down in the circle, is really important. And when this type of wind pattern establishes, this is the thing that makes going north early or tacking onto port and going on port early tend to pay off, because you tack over onto a lifted board, you're lifted under the rest of the fleet. Those that go south also feel like they're getting lifted, and they are, relatively speaking, but you're sailing the long board in a lift when you do that early port tack. Now, the hard bit of it is choosing when to go back. And we'll take a look at that in just a sec. So stopping that share for a sec, and then I want to share a different screen here. And this is, since I can get the share up. Okay, is this webpage showing up for people?
Yep.
Okay, this is RaceQs. And I want to give a shout out to someone in the fleet. Sergey from Russian Roulette. I always knew he was a mad Russian. I didn't realize he was a Russian mad scientist. But I give him serious props for figuring out some analytics that, you know, I've always thought, hey, someone should be able to figure out how to do this. Yeah, and he has with this tool, which is pretty cool. So if your phone records data, or from a Velocitech, you can upload files if you get them in the right format. But it just basically records where you're going around based on GPS position. You know, it's phone level accuracy, so it's not great, but you know, you can turn it on at dock and go out and do whatever you're going to do. But then there's a bunch of cool things with it. So this was our track for the day, but you can edit it and go through and set the time sequence and say, here's race 1 and race 2 and race 3, and which is pretty cool. So you can go through and kind of annotate your data as you go. But then everyone else who's running it at the same time in the same area shows up in your feed, which is just incredibly powerful. So I want to take a look at race 1 here, and We're still in the first 10 minutes. We may have some people joining late, but this ties into Google Earth. And so it's using an open API and the positions of all of our boats, and it's going to calibrate in here and zoom in on us. At least it should, hopefully. And here we go. And boom, there we are on our starting line. Now, there's a couple of panels here that help us do our thing. And I need to move where my control bar is for Zoom for a sec so I can get to the right spot here. I'm going to stop the motion here. There's a great tutorial here on the side with YouTube videos on how to do a whole bunch of stuff. So you can click "Don't show me the tutorials" again, and it will just go automatically there, or you can click things about fleets or about boats or about the races. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. But you get to see all of the boats here. So Russian Roulette and RR, they had 2 phones going, and you want to get rid of RR? Does that sound right, Bill?
Yes, RR is, get rid of that one.
Okay, so otherwise 2 boats are going to show up right over the top of each other. But we've got a pretty good turnout of boats here. And, you know, I really want to give a shout out to Maverick and Nini. You know, also Ryan from Blackhawk for letting us do this and get our boats in here. It's amazingly valuable, and I think it's going to be valuable for the entire fleet to be able to see what's going on at once. Another interesting thing here, and I'm going to get rid of this, is you can compare your boat to any of the other boats that are out here. So if you had a duel, and I'm gonna show you a good duel in the start here between Blackhawk and Nene. You know, you can see where they're at, what they're doing, how they positioned, and who managed to do well or not so well. And you have a bunch of tools that you can turn on and off here, including who's ahead and by how much. And this will kick in just after the start. But you also have things like where your wind shadow is, where if another boat gets into your lee bow, you're going to be in trouble. And you can draw your snail trails around the course as well, and show how far back you want to go with it. The data turns out to be just fantastically important. And there's just so much of it. It was just amazing to see. I was shocked at how good they've gotten this interface. I'm gonna shift back to the window here. Hopefully you can see something. And if you look at Sunday, here's our track, but can you see the angle of this leg that's farther north versus this leg that's farther south? And that is something that happened a lot most of the days. The boats that were farther south were sailing in a different wind direction than the farther north, right? And that's what happens when that wind spreads out and we see that kidney shape. And that's why a lot of times, you know, you just hit that bottom mark and you just stay on port and bang that corner, because sailing in that long lift for that long versus coming out and then taking that header and looking at all these boats that are lifted below your bow, and you're just falling down into them. So, you know, just keep this in mind as we look at this data up here. So with that, here's our starting time, and had some data going on a little bit earlier. I'm going to play this at double speed, and going to turn the camera down here to auto. And it actually comes in and shows you the fleet in 3D, which is pretty darn cool. You can see how the boats are doing their things. I'm going to advance it just a little bit more. Eventually, you'll get a starting line box that shows up. All right, and now you can see, based on its calculated wind direction, which it figures out based on looking at boats going upwind, what it thinks the wind direction's doing.
Brent, quick question on that. So,
Yeah.
so when we look at 220 there, is that taking the aggregate across a number of different boats, or how is it calculating that?
That's exactly right. It's taking the aggregate out of the fleet, and it, so it's inferring it, right? This is not getting NEMA feedings from any boat or anything like that. It's kind of getting a good guess based on the sailing angles that other boats are doing.
Yeah, and I can chime in a little bit on this because I was with Sergey for the initial development of this model. And the idea was, what data could you infer from the movement of the boat? The interesting thing about the wind direction that you have to keep in mind is that it's determined from the tacking angles. And it changes over time depending on how the tacking angles changes. So that's fundamentally where it comes from. The more boats you have, the better the data gets.
Oh, it's really good. It's what the race guys were calling. They were calling 220.
Yeah, it's it's surprisingly accurate. We're dealing with this mostly from cell phones though, so this is not foot accurate or inch accurate. We're maybe within a couple of meters. The other thing is the position of the committee boat and the pin. These are inferred based on how boats are sailing around, right? So, if you're sighting down the line on this and saying, "Hey, that boat's over early," it's like, yeah, we're not there, right? So this is just to kind of give us a rough visual aid. Let this go ahead and play through. You can see who's in the box, who's out of the box. We do a pretty good job on our starts of always trying to be in a position where if we need to go, right, if there's a wind shift, we're going to be able to make it to the pin. If there's a shift that makes us want to go to the boat, we can go to the boat. And we're just kind of playing that by ear and watching the wind as we go, looking for opportunity shifts and big holes. If you get really outside the box in one way or the other, it's going to be a problem. So here we decided to tack. We're going to head down here to pin third, and you can see the line coming up behind us. Nini just came in, ducked us, looked like they were going to be late. We had trouble accelerating. And you look at them and it's like, oh, they look late, but you can see we just stopped and parked. Now, boom, right there. So we're doing okay. I'm going to change view on this, though. Let's look at the top-down view. We're crossing the starting line, and I want to make sure that we have boat-to-boat measurements. As soon as we both get across here, it's going to kick in. And you can see right here, it has us theoretically about 5 meters ahead. We're below them. We're going to be in a lee bow position here. And just want to look and show you how this plays out, right? So we're doing good. It's like, oh, I really want to get up to them. I really want to get up to them. And we start squeezing up here a little bit. We had some trouble accelerating, and you can see right there, Nini's just rolling, closing that gap. Okay, we should be able to start affecting their air, and we just can't quite get to them. And so we did not have the punch off the starting line here, and then Nini just slowly works out and gets above us. Now, turns out this is really bad for us in this situation, both Nini and Blackhawk. And you take a look at that, we've got Maverick down here below us. We have Aquavit down here as well. I want to just stop this and back out and take a look at the bigger picture for a second here. And you have full control to zoom in and out and drag around. I'm just going to go out and look at the big picture here. You know, where's everyone else? All right. So we're going off in this direction. Russian roulette's here. Maverick here is here. Aquavit, you know, they're kind of in a little bit of a world of gas. Now there's other boats out here that we can't see because not everyone's in here. But Aquavit and Melania should really be looking at digging out, right? And go find that free lane and go. Box of Rain, I think Box of Rain is already here. Arbitrage is already dug out. You know, that turns out to be really powerful. And one of the, gonna just take Nini off the picture right now and take a look at Box. You know, we're a full 110 meter in front of them right here. But we're heading off south, right? And we saw the wind was predicted to have this shift that helps favor that early port tack. And if you look up the course here, you can actually see some discontinuities in the line where we see it. And you can see it in theirs as well. So this line slowly bends up. If you click on any of these lines, it will bring up, it'll tell you your course, your speed, and your VMG to the mark, right? So here in this first little bit, they're averaging about 269, right? 271, okay, so that's a little bit of a header. 268, a little bit more of a lift. And this last one here for them, I can get it, 264, right? So we're getting this oscillating shift and progressive shift. Now, you know, one of the key things you're digging out here because you think you're getting this lift on port. Man, that header is golden. As soon as you get that header, you're attacking and you're digging up to get in front of the fleet. Because eventually what's going to happen, you're going to get up here. And now you're going to be on the outside of something that's going up even farther, right? So you take those headers to step up into the fleet because it's just going to get more and more of that south shift going up the course. And that's what the wind does. And you can just see that data all the way up from every boat. It's all showing the same thing. Okay.
Brent, you see that data off of every boat, even if that boat didn't connect up the telemetry from the navigation instruments? Like I didn't hook us into the Wi-Fi on Nini. So I'm wondering if we have that level of detail just from the GPS data.
So all of this is GPS data based on motion. And you know, this was just for my phone, right? I'm getting none of this out of NEMA instruments or anything like that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So you can do the leg by leg comparison. So here we're seeing Blackhawk and Box of Rain on that first upwind leg,
Right.
the overall statistics.
Yep. So you can see that right there. Distances, Box of Rain sailed slightly farther, slightly faster. And in general, look at that elapsed time. We sailed it quicker. You know, so I'm going to go. I'm going to go ahead and play this out with us compared to Box of Rain because I think this is more interesting in the fleet than what Blackhawk did with Nini until they finally rolled us. And I'm going to adjust the speed of it so it doesn't take forever to play through this race. You can see Maverick is here tacking out. Aquavit. Finally, these other boats are going. Finally, we have to go. We had a big duck there. You can see your speed over ground and kind of the trail of what you have been doing and what your VMG is doing, which is really, really impressive. Our 110 meter lead has basically gone to nothing by the time Box of Rain does its first tack. Maverick is here. And I forget what happened with this, but I think we had just a brief duck. And you can just see it right there in just a little bit of a turn. Right. I'm gonna hit this button, go back out. Now, Box of Rain is again 16 meters ahead of us now as we're coming in for our cross after we dug south. And I'm gonna slow this down. There's arbitrage in here. This is why it's interesting to see all the other boats. They led back early. And right about here, we got a little duck. Not much, just a little bit. But we also caught a lift. You know, look at this lift right here. Again, it's that south lift up the course. Bailed us out. All right. So again, what we're seeing here, going left early will often pay, but you have a progressive shift. So you have to pick your opportunities to tack up and step up. Hopefully when you have a header to work on, right? There you can see we had another little duck of a little boat. Arbitrage is tacking. Right. And we're gonna go and tack here. We're now not on the favored tack, but it's enough that we're across Box of Rain. Now we're to the south of them on the inside of the shift. Behind Nini, but not by a whole lot. And now we're one of the southmost boats. Except for Maverick. Look at that. Good job, Ian. So he found that right shift out, then dug back in with a good shift and came back. And here now we're gonna leave out Box of Rain and go in. Now at any leg you can go ahead and drag through and stop, take a look, expand out, and get some pretty good data here. I'm gonna stop right here, do exactly that. So one of the things you get, as well as the legs, you can see where you tack or you jibe. You can click on that and you can get some interesting thing. You can see the angle that you were tacking through between the lines, how much oversteering you did, and then it gives you an idea of what your minimum speed drop to, how long it took to tack and recover your boat speed, things like that. And you can also just spot in the lines, was able to get back in the groove pretty fast here. Here was a really bad tack, horrible tacking angle. We had a 30-degree oversteer, but that's because we had to duck a boat coming out of it. All right, so we really paid the penalty. Speed over ground really dropped, and our VMG was pretty bad. So get a lot of good data like that as you're going. But again, you can see this line coming up, turns a little less for us because we're going off on the wrong direction. This early angle, 269 versus the angle they were sailing in. Now that one's 269, 270. So that's about the same, but they hit the shift. Up to 268 just a little bit earlier. And here at 264, unfortunately, that's about when they tacked. So if they would have tacked in ahead of that, that may have been a little bit better for them. So let's take a look at Box of Rain for a sec here. And we're gonna show, get rid of Blackhawk and look at Maverick. They led us around. and they're so far ahead right now. I have to actually back up the timing just a little bit so they show the correct leg for them. Okay. So again, we look at Maverick's lines here. And what did they do? They were able to bounce out fairly early here. Get this line 268, we're seeing the same angles. But they found a really good angle here to tack on, 190 versus, one more try, I'm going to give up, try and click on this, versus 185, so that's 5 degrees higher. And then this is the one of the highest angles up here at 267, coming right in on that port lane line. So great job on picking your way through the course on that.
Hey, Brent, question for you. What was the current doing that day? Because don't forget, these VMG, these heading numbers are really current affected, right? So was current a factor?
Absolutely. So this was probably a knot to a knot and a half of flood, coming mostly down the course. It wasn't huge side to side. It was more from the top mark down, I think. And yes, you can see that with the slow VMG, right? Because we know these boats are slow SOG. We know we're sailing more at 6.5, 7 than 6.1. So this is probably maybe half a knot adverse at this point in time, sweeping down the course. Okay. At this point in time, I do want to back up and just point out a couple of things here. Let's, in going back to just after the start and thinking about opportunities, we're going to this button to show us all the fleet, but I really want the top view of it. You look at where these boats are positioned, and you got to start looking at your opportunities here. Are you in a winning position where you're going to be holding the lane, or do you need to be looking at digging out, right? So if you have a bad start, and we all have bad starts, sailing underneath in all the disturbed air, you're going to be slow. You're also going to be low. The best thing you can do is immediately flop out and just find that clear lane. Take that medicine early, because all of your healing is going to be done once you get into that clear air, right? If you're wondering about it and thinking about it and hoping that a lane's going to open, you're just spending a lot of time leading boat speed. So, here's an opportunity for a couple of boats to do some quick tacks, and just want to look and see, what happens, who's tacking out first. And okay, there's Box of Rain, right? They're about 7 boat lengths back, but they're digging out to one of their first ones. And then if they had just dug back in a little sooner, I think they, or with a header, I think they would have had a good chance of being right up there with the top boat. And so this is against Box of Rain versus Maverick, right? And, just play that up the course and look at it. Here comes Maverick. They had a big ugly duck here for a sec. All right, they're still able to hang into it, but Box of Rain is taking some of that off. Maverick comes up. Look at that angle there. That looks pretty good, right? They didn't tack through a whole lot with that. So, and then here they are. Nini had to duck him. So they went from clearing out to ahead of the pack, and again, being patient and waiting for that shift. You know, they're doing pretty good here. And then it's right up here at the end, everyone else is getting wound up, and now they're just hammered down and going fast. And they're able to get the slam dunk on Nini here right ahead of them. So great job, Ian. All right. So don't be afraid to dig back early. If you get out to this ley line too soon, any shift is going to hurt you. And, you know, it's just a really long train of bad gas. So leading the fleets back in early, avoid, you know, tacking within 3 boat lengths just because of the danger of it and losing most of your rights. But in general, you know, the fleet did a pretty good job here. So I'm just gonna play through it, expand out. You now see boats starting to tack out, trying to lead, and you can see a pretty good job of what the VMG is as boats are coming down, who's gonna have good mark roundings, and which ones are gonna struggle. Now, all of these marks are positioned, you know, based on where people think they are. And it's kind of like Wikipedia, where last one wins in terms of making a comment. Now, Maverick pulled out such a big lead, and you know, they won it by getting south of the fleet, but boy, that looked like a lot of risk for them. But look at them go. They're able to maintain that lead pretty good. All right. Now we know, taking a look at 2 different boats at this point in time, I'm going to throw Nini up here and take a look at this from a top-down position. So look at this angle difference. And again, they're getting wound up here at the end. So if we can get this to display. Okay, so they're sailing at 265, doing about 6 knots over ground. And over here, it's a 4-degree difference. That's why the going south doesn't necessarily pay in the bottom of the course, but they're on a continual lift. So eventually they're going to get a lift up in the other direction. And we'll see if Maverick is able to stay inside them here. All right. And you know, all of a sudden Maverick is not quite inside them. They're not going to do it. They're going to lead back early. And is that going to work? No. Okay, so they're going to step up to the ley line here. And around we go. So a lot of boats are coming up early here. That is most likely due to the current. Nini had a little bit of a problem though.
Do you mind if we just skip this part?
Yeah, it's a little painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
When Tim went shopping for dinner.
And
The long dinner.
you know, yeah, stuff like that happens. So I'm gonna swap out Nini, not to rub
Thank
salt
you.
in the wounds there, but
What happened to Nene?
We shrimped.
Oh, hate to hear that.
yeah, they lost control of the kite and then ended up spending some money in the process too, which is never fun to see.
Atypical for you guys. You guys are usually solid crew handling.
Hey, Brent, my wife heard that.
Very good. How is Marcy doing, by the way?
I don't know, ask Ted.
Oh,
Different wife.
Yeah, a different way. Ours is doing great.
Yeah, and then we can go ahead and see where the finishes are coming in. So that's race one, and a lot of the same things kind of happened race two, but there were a few boats that had some interesting things that came up, and even just looking at your general overall tracks, you can kind of see the bends in the lines. In race two here, we were much smarter about getting to the side we wanted. Race three, not necessarily as much. So I'm gonna, in the sake of some time, throw out race three. And some interesting things kind of happened here. Okay, and we had a pretty big pause, so I'm gonna accelerate here to the start. But this is something where I wanted to look and show Russian roulette and Blackhawk on the start. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to a top-down view and see where everyone else is at here. Now, so it's just a little bit. Okay, so Nini's running the line. We're already late. we're just kind of done. Tried for a little hook thing here, and that just did nothing for us. We didn't accelerate. We were just too far away. So, at this point in time, we're in survival mode and we're getting out of here. We still haven't crossed the line. And so at this point in time, Russian roulette, they're 2 boat lengths ahead of us. And arbitrage is in here. Now they're able to dial out of that pretty soon, and arbitrage is coming out as well. Now, take a look at the difference in the angles of these lines. Pause that. So 276, but they're moving at a pretty good clip here at 6.2. Our VMG in that bit's 4.3. And we dug out of a really bad start. We're only doing 5.8, but 10 degrees higher, and our VMG is higher. And there's one other thing. You go and you look at the summary for these legs. Go to this here. Our average heel here is about 6 degrees. Whether or not this is totally accurate on the cell phone, I'm not entirely sure. But Russian roulette is running about 23 degrees. So they're definitely leaning more on the sails than we are. And you can see the total distance they sailed substantially farther. Now our average speed around the course is about the same, but this extra distance really didn't necessarily help out on that leg. So you have a lot of valuable information in there to figure out how you are doing, where you have opportunities for improvement. So I'm just gonna zip around this and zoom out, and you can see that trail here. by the time we got up and close to tacking, now we're now getting angle out, but it's from sailing higher. It's not necessarily from sailing faster. Now, if we take a look and compared to some of the other boats that are out here, Nini's over us, but pretty close to us. So we can very quickly see we have about the same distance. Nini was just 2/10 faster than us. It was really fast around the course. Don't have the heel for them. And then Maverick is over here. They're 5 boat lengths ahead of us. Again, same speed, about the same distance. Maverick actually took 2/100ths off of it, right? But so if a boat's not pointing and sailing a lot of extra distance, you can kind of see it. Oh, sorry. I was after staying with Russian roulette here. It's a little bit longer.
Hey, when can I start making excuses?
Given that you're one of the guys who baited this tool, you should be one of the last to get to make excuses.
My dog ate my homework.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't give you guys enough props for it. This is just extremely valuable in the amount of data you can get out of it. And so we dug out, you dug out. We're right here going around, and all of a sudden we're like right next to each other with this for a sec, and then I think you guys got tied up a little bit.
We hit the mark.
Oh, that yeah. Okay, again, we split out. Just really we're struggling now being south of the competition. You can see the others coming in here. This is I'm sorry, this was not the race I was hoping to show Russian roulette at this point. So sorry to focus on this one, Bill.
Well, you could pick another one.
Yeah. And then we go and off to finish. Okay. The race I wanted to look at was Sunday. And I'm going to go ahead. There are 2 things that were kind of useful in Sunday. We see a bunch of the same things.
Actually, race 1 on Sunday was a race between Russian roulette and Maverick because we had the boat going a little better, but Maverick had to come back for over early and we were late. We were late to the race.
Yeah. So again, this is not accurate enough to show the over earlies. And I'm just gonna hop up into a little bit of a fleet view here. But these marks, are fairly accurate in their location. And Russian roulette really demonstrates that we got the pin in right on it. And we look at this start on where we're at.
Enter out of the galley.
Yeah. And, you know, we are pretty close to owning the boat. You just have to slow down a little bit. Bruce is doing a great job of being patient and just coming in, waiting to pick our pockets. And there we go. And then, you know, unfortunately, took race committee a little bit before they started calling out numbers, which was a little sad to see. And then we can see Maverick peeling off with the late call. And it's really, so Russian roulette late crew pickup is still coming in here, and you know they dip right around the line and right up. Now at our first look at distance on it, we're seeing 180 meters, right? So that's, you know, 17 boat lengths. That's huge. Nene is right in here underneath us somewhere as well. I don't think you guys got tracks uploaded from Sunday.
I forgot to turn it on.
Yeah, but we ended up basically rolling out again on this leg, and it was the reason we did it was not necessarily tactical as much as we were lined up with Nene and really focusing on boat speed. And that turned out not to be the correct thing. So, you know, sometimes being just a half boat length back is really tough and controlling. Other times, being, you know, really far back is, you know, somewhat more useful. So we had opened up a lead by the time we tacked somewhere up here into, you know, about 200. And, you know, you can see that bend in the angle. They're now in the lift and they're just munching the numbers right off of us. So again, that digging out early took a big chunk of it, that lead out. Now, you know, we at the end are gaining it back because of the shifts and have to go in here and dig with Box of Rain and others. But Russian roulette was able to really gain back by getting out into clear air, getting to the favored side. Now, it was our second leg around. I'm going to go ahead and burn through this. I want to show people something on the second downwind. And I'm going to turn off Russian roulette. So both Nene and Blackhawk attempted to go wing and wing here on this leg. And yeah, back that up. So we're coming around here. You can see our speed over ground and our VMG right about in here. We jibe. You can see our angles, the two just line up. And we finally were able to settle down in here and have a really, really good VMG and SOG down wing and wing. And this turned out to be just really huge on this leg for us.
Hey, Brent, what was it? What was it that you saw that caused you to do that, or what were you trying to accomplish?
So, you know, we figured out that, you know, the biggest thing is you have to have control of the boat and somewhat flattish water, or at least something you can steer. And some of the steering was really big. But we found wing and wing works really well in somewhere around 14 to 18. Above 18, it gets a little dicey more because it means the waves have probably picked up. But that seems to be the sweet spot where wing and wing is just so much faster than not doing wing and wing. And I'm gonna turn back on Russian roulette here for a sec and take a look at this leg. So this is leg 4 downwind. We shaved off 6/100ths of a mile. And I think I did the math on that. That's about 12 boat lengths. Our speed was about the same, right? But that saved us like 15 seconds.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was your, can you tell what was your VMG before do you know the point where you went wing? Like your VMG here is what, 9.2 or something? I'm curious what your VMG did.
Yeah.
It was about 7.5.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Sure.
Yeah. So if you click on this right up here, speed's 8.5 to 8.2. Right. Now our speed here, 8.8. VMG is also 8.8, right? We are heading directly at the finish, full boat speed.
Oh, very cool.
And that was
So you jibed your kite, but not your main?
Yes, we jibed the kite. We left the main over, and then when we got down here to the bottom,
I think we jibed the main on that one, actually, Brent. I think we were on. I think we were on port that time.
Okay. And then, by the time we get over here, now we're just kind of reaching in for a finish. All right. You can see who is showing up ahead of us at this point, coming on in. So Maverick's behind us here. Russian roulette still behind us by a bit. Box of Rain is coming in. I think we just managed to get in front of Nini. And it was really due to the strength of Nico being able to trim that wing and wing. It's not an easy thing to do. You really have to practice hard to get it right. But it's extremely powerful. Now, I'm gonna back out here for a sec. Is Charlie on? I know Chris from Box of Rain is here.
No, I think he's on a plane right now.
Okay, good. So this won't be as painful for him.
But it's recorded.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll relay the message, whatever it is.
The next time I see him, I'll make sure and duck. But like everything, it's the learning opportunities we care about. I'm gonna back this up just a touch here. It looks like Box of Rain, Maverick, and Russian, they're all pretty close to the same ladder rung here. Box of Rain is about 3 boat lengths ahead. And they're doing pretty good, but something happens here. And I'm not entirely sure what it is, but as the boats are converging and getting close here, in the critical moments, all of a sudden that lead just evaporates. So this could have been a shift. This could have been Box of Rain just sailing a little low, trying to get in front of Maverick. This could be Maverick heating it up and going to engage Box of Rain ahead of the 3 boat length circle. But what looks like it should be a cross now in the last critical moments here turns out not to be a cross. So
Interestingly, Brent, we tried to go on Russian roulette. We tried to go wing and wing and sneak right in there, but we couldn't get it stabilized.
yeah, it's you end up trimming the kite backwards. What is normally the luff is the leech. And so you're pulling in the opposite direction of what your trimmer is used to looking at. You got to look at the leach of the sail as the leading edge, which is a little bit counterintuitive. So again, even right here, we're in 10.5 meter boats and it's 11 meter lead, depending on where the cell phones are at, that may not be a lead at all. And then, it just really evaporates. My guess is at this point in time, Box of Rain already has their crew off the rail. They're not trimming for speed. They're trimming to get ready to jibe. And jibe they do as they should if they're have a starboard boat. And now all of a sudden we have a pretty good overlap in here. You can actually count these ticks. These ticks are measured correctly, and it knows these are J105s. So this is about 10 boat lengths out. And then right about here, you can see Maverick jibes. They're jibing at about 5 boat lengths out. And I think this is some of our discussion earlier about chipping the rust off. You got to jibe back. As soon as you complete that jibe, everyone should be ready for that call to jibe back. And it's really tough. And a simultaneous jibe with Maverick, as soon as they go, you got to be going with them. If you can't do it, then if the conditions are, you just don't have it filled, you're not going to make it. Concede Maverick, get the kite down. Just even back in here, start thinking about your douse, because you just got to finish, right? And you look at where you are compared to Russian.
Yeah, there was a lot of poor decision making there.
Yeah. So, we know that miss happened, and then, it's really tough. You're dousing. You're trying to get down. You got to finish, and you can't lose sight of the big picture. And it's painful to see that, but going around the race committee in the wrong direction and then back up through the line, and then tacking around doesn't meet the string rule for sailing the course. So it's kind of painful to watch, but I think it's a great learning moment for everyone. Know what you can do and where you're going to have to go. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just concede that individual spot, and not bleed places with others. If something goes wrong, the tactician really has to be their head on the game and make sure that you finish in the right direction and have unwound your marks correctly, because it's just a painful moment to have to go through, but it's a great learning moment. Chris, do you want to give us any comments or thoughts from the boat side perspective on that?
No, it was just, kind of, you just hit the nail on the head. We were hoping we were going to cross Maverick, and then we made the decision too late that we weren't. We were hoping to do a double jibe, but we just didn't have enough room in front of the anchor line. So we just weren't fast enough with everything involved. And then you're absolutely right about the string rule. It was something that we knew about, but just weren't even thinking about at the time. So it was a really good, though painful, learning experience for us to make that mistake and come away take it as a learning experience, as you said.
Yeah.
With the anchor line out, could you have called for room 3 boat lengths from the anchor line?
I don't believe that I mean, you can ask for a rumor to finish, but I don't think you can ask. And we were outside. We were, as Brent mentioned, we were at like 5 boat lengths at that point. But no, I don't think we could have called for room.
So room is at 3 boat lengths, but I want to be very careful on the rules, right? There is no rule that says you have to call for room. The rule is the outside boat gives you room, right? So you don't have to ask for it. And you know, if we just step forward here a little bit, right about here, and Maverick's already jibing. If we draw or count out these, that's about 5 boat lengths away. What Box of Rain needs to be able to do is throw in the jibe 2 boat lengths ahead of here, or right about the same time. You know, as soon as Maverick's turning down, you should be turning down. If you don't think you can pull off the jibe, you know, you gotta be thinking, what's my exit strategy up here at 10 boat lengths? And, you know, Maverick can sail you past the mark. Maverick and Luff, you might never reach that 3 boat length circle. You gotta be thinking about getting that kite down. Right, so everyone, you know, don't cling to this idea that speed is your friend in this situation. Speed is almost your worst enemy, because it's just bringing things up way too fast, and we have flood pushing us down the course. So even up here, starting to get a douse in, or when Maverick jibed, if you don't think you can pull off a jibe, throw in a Mexican douse, right? Just don't try and jibe the kite, jibe the boat, get the kite down. It's Maverick's job, once you hit that 3 boat length circle, to give you the room you need to sail, including that room to jibe and get over that anchor rub.
Yeah, I'll take 100% responsibility for that. That was just, I did not plan far enough out in advance. So,
well, but this is why we look at it, because this is the opportunity for us to understand it, and it's I'm sure it's smarts to look at and think about, but you know, we learn more from our mistakes than our successes.
Brent, did Maverick lay straight ahead, so they were perfectly on lay to the committee boat?
No,
they jibe?
They jibed 5 boat lengths out. You can see the jibe right here.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say the question I would be asking way back at the top, as soon as you see them jibing and coming back, is, are they laying the boat? And if they're laying on the boat and you're to the right of them, then you do everything you can to cross behind them and just slow the boat up.
You know, it's a great idea. You know, it's really hard to think about doing that when you're, you know, up in this position though.
Yeah.
And, you know, it looks like a comfortable cross by, you know, 3 boat lengths, right? So.
Yeah, it's so far ahead. I just always get, if I see a boat come back and I think it's close to that lay, then you start thinking about like just sheeting in and slowing. I mean, obviously I can't see the other boats that were in the mix. So if there's 10 other boats there, that totally changes your thought. But.
You know, and right here, you know, about the time Maverick's jibing, they're looking pretty good, but, you know, boy, Maverick came out on a really good angle, very hot and going great. And on this leg down here, you know, their VMG's 8.1, their speed is averaging 8.5 on this leg here. You know, speed 8.8, VMG not so good. In general, it was good up until this last little bit. And then this last little bit, something happened. VMG fell, speed fell a little bit. and Maverick was just able to nip in there.
Might have been another boat in there, Brent, right? I mean, the invisible boats are the ones that are
Yeah.
that are tough to figure out.
Yeah, there could have been. Okay, and we're running a little bit long. I want to throw one more boat under the bus. And this is, if I hopefully have this right. So this is the last race on Sunday. And so who do I want to look at? I want to look at, I'm going to stop this. Eventually I'm going to want to look at Russian roulette. But I want to start here in this pre-start with Box of Rain. Okay. So we have all of our boats here in their pre-start. And we're all digging off towards the barge line to the committee boat. And we're getting pretty far away. You know, Box of Rain is coming around. We ducked them. And now all of a sudden, oh, we are late. So I'm gonna pause this. One thing, you know, if you find out you're late, again, don't just go underneath the fleet in the bad disturbed air. Your best exit strategy if you're late, go out on port, get into clear air, and then just start beating in clear air up in and get up above the committee boat, right? If you figured out you're late and in gas, you're just not accelerating, you can't point. It's better to just get to port immediately, and that'll give you your best chance out. So we dug out, and Forrest was actually nice enough to laugh at us as we went by the committee boat and said, "What the hell are you doing?" Okay, and so I wanted to show Box of Rain because they were right in our spot there, and you know, we had to tack around and get out of there. Maverick is in a great spot. Russian roulette is in a great spot. You know, other than us, I think most everyone had a pretty good start here. And then we're talking about finding our lane, getting our lane. Bruce does an amazing job of just digging out immediately, getting a lane. Here comes Box of Rain coming out, getting a lane, and just taking a little bit too long. You know, we should have been the first boat out, you know, right there at the boat. You know, by the time we go here, now we actually have Nini just above us coming in, and you know, not doing a great job. These other boats are just crushing us going up the course. So the one thing, and you can see my phone slipped in here, so the angle of the boat's a little off. Slipped in the nav station. Bruce just walked away from us going up the course here. Okay. And where did Ian end up? You know, we look at Maverick up here, and he's just doing a fantastic job. So I'm gonna get back to throwing Blackhawk under the bus and just taking a look. Sorry, Arbitrage and Maverick up here. You look at them, and they're just fantastic up here, well above the rest of us. Mavericks got a boat and a half length lead here from the boats that we can see. So again, up in the top of the course, Mavericks on the inside of the shift a little bit. We're digging out early to try and take advantage of a little late shift and to keep in clear air. We're staying out of the parade here. And now Russian Roulette is right in here with us. And this is probably about the time we're gonna let Russian Roulette go in there and lead Arbitrage in. We're leading the next pack down. Pause this shift now because I want to focus on Blackhawk and Russian Roulette, because we started getting a little bit more wind and trying to heat it up a little bit, and sometimes that works, and sometimes not so much. So we put a little bit of pace on it there on the angle, and you can see we're sailing hotter angles, we're sailing more distance, but it is slowly gaining us a little bit of gap. And this was getting into those marginal planing conditions where if you can use it to stay on a surge on waves, you're good. You can see we had to duck a folk boat here. And we had a rounding here. This one, we were able to hold our own. And then Russian Roulette dug out for clear air. And we're doing okay. It's us and Russian Roulette. It's anyone's game in our own individual race. You can see the angles here coming back from that other side. Russian Roulette's on a pretty bad angle, and it's hurting us, but they're going to get bailed out up here at the end. Because again, they're on the inside of that left shift. And you just look at that right here, and it's like, oh, are they gonna make that cross? Are they gonna make that cross? Oh, boom, shift just in time. Now we're inside the shift. And unfortunately, we got a couple other things going on in here with some other boats. So we're gonna follow Russian Roulette around here, and then we saw they did okay bailing out earlier, going for speed. We're trying to do our hot thing again. It's not working quite as well this time around. And I'm gonna slow this down once we get down here to this bottom mark. So we were thinking we were going to go for this gate, and then based on our ability to get the kite down, had to bail and say no. We've just got to follow Russian Roulette around. Between Russian Roulette and us is also Akula. So when we get around here,
yeah, he just took going on pretty well.
Yeah. So at this point in time, we have two boats in front of us, and instead of holding a high lane, we tried to push down through them. And I just want to watch this 45 meter go. Akula bailed fairly early, probably somewhere around there. And I just parked us there and left us there. And we eventually stopped going for foot mode, mainly because they were extending so far out in front of us. But we are bleeding positions as we go here. And that gap just opens and opens and opens. So what started at 4 boat lengths is now up to 8, 9, 10 boat lengths. Finally, about 10 boat lengths. As I got smart and headed out, right? So a 4 boat length difference is now a 10 boat length difference by just not getting out and sailing in clear air. You just got to do it. Find a way. It's really painful tacking into the waves of death down at the bottom of the mark, and it's really painful jibing in the cone shadow of death at the top. But you got to be in clear air. So this cost us so much, and I'm forgetting whether or not, and Russian roulette at this point is, a league ahead of us. So I'm going to switch over to arbitrage on this. I'm not sure their chart is up for this one. Yeah, okay, so that's unfortunately where their signal stopped. I would have liked to see this. Here was a disastrous tack where I hove us to as we got waved across at the end, and I forgot to cut the sheet when we tacked anyway. And then you can see Maverick and Russian, these others here. And we happen to get a very good tack right in here. And then we've got a duck that you're going to see right here. That was Mojo, but we were laying the finish and we just barely crossed 2 boats. So what should have been a comfortable lead of 3 to 4 boats became a nail biter for Ryan on whether or not we were going to cross by a matter of feet. So that one was definitely on me. And just want to look back at, go back to Russian roulette, not the overall, but that last upwind leg. So you can look at stats for each of them and you can see the trails for each of them, which is really nice and convenient. And you can just see how much higher they're going and faster. So they're only sailing a little bit farther and average 0.3 of a knot around the course faster than us on that leg. Right? That is just huge. So good job with that, Bill. Okay, those were kind of the key points. There's so much data here. We could analyze this for like 5-6 hours, but just want to open this up and see if there's any questions or thoughts people have, and anything someone would like to look at.
In that last race, Brett, at the start, the wind was like 240 and then it was 230 at the end. I don't remember a shift like that. Is the 240 just because that's how they set up the line and how they were inferring the wind at the start, or was there really that kind of shift in that race?
I don't think the wind shifted geographically down here at the start from, I don't remember 10-degree oscillations. There were some oscillations, but I think the wind down here was fairly consistent. What we did see though was a consistent bend up the course, right? So we're seeing, if we look at this line here, boat sailing 268, right? Then on our next one up, And select it. Okay, now we're finally matching at 268, but you can see this header coming down for boats on starboard and the lifts on port, right? So now we're at 265. So, you know, we're getting a 5 to 7 degree bend going up the course, and that's gonna favor this top bit quite a bit. You know, unfortunately, you don't have that same thing right down here off the bottom, right? So you end up coming up high, and then from this corner, you're basically sailing that leg down. If you find the right boats, you can actually almost see where the shifts are at, right? The shift line kind of cuts through the course diagonally instead of directly across.
Is there any way of getting the, at the start, having the timer, have the start timer going at the same time?
Have the start timer.
Yeah, it's just so we know the timing at the start. We're just watching the boats, but we don't know how much time there is.
Oh, actually, the time is right down here in the bottom. You
Oh,
see
was it?
Yeah.
I didn't. Oh, the picture's in the way. Okay.
Yeah.
And the green box is supposed to be the start. When the green box goes away, that's the start.
Yeah. So if we back up on the time, you can see
I can't move this picture.
Let me, not sure what happens if I make that a little smaller. If you have a zoom bar or something else down there at the bottom, it might be getting in the way, but in the very bottom right corner, you can see the time. And so theoretically the start.
Oh, I had your ugly mug down there. So now I removed you. Now I can see it.
Yeah, right. So I think those numbers really help. And if you look at Fleet View or even do auto for it, auto is kind of nice because it's going to give you this view going across the starting line. So, you know, you can see from watching this why Forrest was laughing at us as we went across, you know, 2 boat lengths behind everyone else. And you know, here's another great example where you can see on the north side of the course you have more south in the breeze. And right up here, eventually it matches up, and you can see this wind line, you know, where the shift line is, shows up pretty well also. But that's why that port is paying early, and you've got to find the right times to dig out to get on the inside of this shift, because it's going to just continue to go, and you can't be on the outside of that pinwheel, right? So kudos to those that figured out that bit of the puzzle, which I think was a lot of Ian and Nini throughout the day. Other questions or thoughts?
I'll throw, while people are thinking of a question, I'll throw something out. One of the things I would like to ask is if you would please consider running RaceQs in the races. You know, I think it's really helpful for a lot of us who are still trying to, you know, struggling with consistency and trying to dial the boat in. And we can look and see as we try different ideas with trim and so forth, how we're comparing to the top of the fleet. And if you download the application on your phone, actually, I set it at the dock before I leave, and there's a delayed start feature where you can just say, you know, started at noon or started at 12:30. And then I just tape it to the nav station, and I don't think about it again until I get back to the dock. So it's pretty easy once you just get that little 30-second step in there. So I really appreciate everybody who uploaded data, and it would be great if we could continue to do it.
Yeah. So Linda asked a question, and I think it's the starting box. But
that's it.
Yeah, the question of what's the box in boat lengths. So
is there a general rule?
yeah, do you know how far this box is? I think they compute that it's not a fixed length, but it is something more of a based on the size of boat or boat speed. It tries to start ticking up and shrinking at somewhere about a minute or 45 seconds to go. Do you know the details, Bill?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it does it in boat lengths. My recollection is that is based on an anticipated upwind speed.
Yeah.
And then it's done, it's just drawn at a certain time before the start. So the box isn't always the same size, but I'll check with Sergey. I'll ask him what the logic behind that is.
Yeah.
But I think the question is also forget the tool. Just in general, when out on the water, don't be more than a minute from the line.
Yeah. Ideally when you're in the in kind of the pre-start going back and forth, right? You want to be somewhere in this dance floor, right? Here's the actual dance floor of what you can do. There's another dance floor that kind of goes in the opposite direction for port, which is okay, but you really need to know where the fetch line is for the pin. And if you're not above it on your last tack, you're in a world of hurt. Likewise with the barge line, if you're above it, you need to either manage your speed or your height to get back down into a reasonable starting position. And delaying a start, and once you're done up here, you just wait, right? You're not going to drive over the fleet and be able to come down, find a hole, and then turn back up. Your smart play is you just plan on a second row start, and you're one of the first to tack out. And just don't forget to tack out with it. And again, this these numbers are inferred, so we got to take all of those with a grain of salt on that 246. Yeah. So we are now an hour and a half in. I am happy to stay on and just chat as long as we want. But in terms of like turning off the recording and allowing people to ask questions or make fun of my last start, all of that is fair game. So any last questions? We're ready to go. I'm going to stop share. And
Brent, Ted here. I just have a quick comment. It's great for you to organize this. I think it's a really helpful tool, and thank you.
Yeah, and feel free and ask us. Maze is really great with this stuff. We have others that Justin Oberbauer was one of the first to turn this on, and we started looking at it. If you're trying to do something that's not obvious, please feel free. And I just realized it got dark. I should turn on my light. I'm going to stop